All right, welcome to the Briones Pickleball Podcast. Today we have a really good conversation with a really special guest. It's someone that I've known in Arizona, probably one of the longest relationships I've had since I moved here. And we'll just get into it. But Gary Rosas.
How are you?
What's going on, dude?
Not a whole lot. Just hanging out with my buddy Jordan.
All right.
Mike's in front of us.
Or I can say Dr. Gary Rosas.
That's right. I did go to medical school.
Yeah. So Gary, interesting story here. I'm gonna put this headphone down real quick. But Gary was actually one of my very first clients.
Yeah.
Of all time.
I remember loving your videos.
In Arizona. Oh, okay. So you know what
the origin story is probably you on the internet.
Okay.
So I remember just getting into pickleball and Googling it, and Jordan popped up. That's when he was with, I think, Primetime or someone different back in the day, and loved the content. And
awesome, man.
I got into playing, and when I heard he was moving out here, I was like, I got to look him up.
That's cool. So you found me on the website or something.
Yeah, I'm sure it was YouTube. Because I remember watching a lot of the videos just when I was, taking my own deep dive into pickleball and being like, I got to learn how to do this. And your name popped up. Yeah, you got it.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So I don't remember you. I don't remember how you found me, but we're gonna pull up the picture really quick.
Okay. And picture didn't happen.
Yeah. And for those of you who are just listening to this, then I know you're not gonna be able to see it, but we'll describe it. We'll describe it to you. Here we go. So this is the very first lesson. I'm
no fence there. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was some audio there. I'm pretty sure this was actually the very first lesson on my court. I actually believe.
Look at that. Is it really? Wow.
Pretty
sure, I remember you were trying to coordinate with the fence guy when we were here. And so no fence.
So this is pre-fence, and this is Jack.
Yeah, Jack Smith.
Yeah, I have to call him. Jack, if you ever hear this or listen to this, let's reconnect, man. Because I want to see what he's up to. But you guys played some tournaments together.
Yeah, we were actually getting ready to play nationals, and we had another coach that we had a couple times. But like I said, we were fanboys of Jordan, so it was like, all right, if Jordan's coming to Arizona, we definitely want to get a lesson before we head off to nationals. And so I think we had
That's awesome,
at least one, because it was in the fall. Nationals was in December.
Yeah, well, we did multiple after that.
That's right. Yeah.
But so that's that. You just sent me, and you also the summer after, right? This
past summer. Yep.
Yeah, we don't have a group picture, but you attended one of our 2-day intensives.
Yeah, that was in Colorado Springs.
In Colorado.
Yeah, one of my favorite places. And
yeah. So that was that, and what was your experience? I mean, it's been a while, Gary, and also. So for the viewers, what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about pickleball, obviously. We have a pretty cool story. Gary has been through a lot of things since I've met him. And we're also talking about balancing your life, a good work-life balance, and staying healthy and fit. So this is going to be very, very relevant to a lot of you listeners and viewers out there. And coming from a kind of an amateur player who wants to just get better.
Just doing the best I can. Yeah.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot of good content, and also with Gary being an MD, a doctor, he has some knowledge in that space. So Gary, how was your experience? From what you remember, it's been about probably 7 months.
August. Yeah, it was August. I was escaping the heat here from Arizona. That's one of the reasons I was like, oh, Jordan's going to Colorado Springs. And it was great. It's like the 2-day intensive. I've been to bigger camps before. The small ratio definitely helped. Getting people the same, just for drills and things like that. Really loved how Jordan focused a lot on how the game was evolving. Spin. He brought out the little spin master, and spending time with that. That's really, I think, one of the biggest takeaways I have to be gosh, I love having spin to get the little putaways, those little roll volleys, but then having more control too, baseline ground strokes, or even working on like a third shot dipper, like realizing spin plays such a part in the game now, especially as it's evolving with all these paddles and stuff we have.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome, man. So if you are interested in any training with me, 2-day intensive, or actually coming up, our inaugural 5-day intensive, 5-day intensive trainings, Gary, which
caught my eye.
Yeah, Gary may be coming.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You may get to meet him. All right. But yeah, so if you want any information below in the description, go check that out. Okay. So now, what are we moving on to? Gary, why don't you just tell your story?
Yeah.
A lot of people come to pickleball in different ways. And for me, it was a time in my life where I was a tennis player, and I believe you played tennis, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep, I did.
So I was a tennis player, avid tennis player. I loved the game. I loved everything about it. But also, I remember I was working full time, so I wasn't playing that often because I didn't have a lot going on besides work. And when I started the game, my dad invited me, and then from there, I started playing and fell in love with the sport that way. But you have obviously a cool story. So yeah, how did it start and how did it kind of change, your life, and how did it all happen?
Yeah, just like you. I played tennis. Loved playing tennis. Played a bunch as a kid. Was never good enough to play on my high school team. I went to one of the country club schools, just like Brophy here. But loved tennis. Actually played some USTA as an adult. But pickleball kind of fell in my lap. It was during COVID year, which is one of the most chaotic for not only myself, but of course the whole world, is when I found pickleball, and they converted the Horizon courts in Scottsdale to pickleball during that time. And gosh, that year was crazy. It was, January 2020. COVID was just happening. I was a full-time ER doc at the time, and it was crazy just to kind of balance that.
So you were in the ER then during COVID. During COVID.
Yeah.
Wow.
During COVID. Wow. And luckily I just decided at the beginning of that year, after I had a health scare in December leading up to 2019 of basically with my camper, there was a leak and I got carbon monoxide poisoning. And so that was especially being a physician, to be like, wow, I'm on the other side now, or I'm not, my own mortality I had to face.
Wow.
So kind of coming back from that, my wife at the time, we had decided to get a divorce. I was burnt out with work. I kind of knew like I didn't want to be a full-time ER doc anymore. So I actually cut my shifts in half. Yeah. And as pickleball came into this mix, I was also starting a new bike shop, an electric bike shop in Scottsdale, and was moving out of the house. Yeah.
Oh, so like selling bikes?
Selling bikes.
Electric bikes.
Yep, electric bikes. And I was going to be I was the one-wheel electric unicycle kind of part of that.
Okay.
So I had all those pieces kind of moving there of, gosh, that was, 2020. I look at it now, it's like, seems like such a blur, but pickleball's kind of been a constant since then. So it's one of those things, of course, being on this podcast and where I see it now in my life from, finding more balance in my life and getting rid of the stress. But that was a chaotic time with a lot going on.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of listeners have experienced some tough times. Actually, in our marriage and our lives, just in general, COVID was pretty tough. It was pretty tough. But so on the carbon monoxide poisoning, so you were in a camper.
Yes.
And then it started to leak.
Yeah. So we had a family camper that we had spent Christmas with. It's a big 40-foot RV, like in San Diego at the Bay. And then we had some family friends who had it was this beautiful festival wedding in Palm Springs, like in Indio. And we were staying in a vacation rental where my dogs couldn't stay. So I would go to the campground and check on my dogs before and after time. So it was actually after the wedding. I went, it was like 6 a.m. I thought I was just sleeping off a hangover. I had a bit of a headache. I laid down with the dogs. The dogs were acting goofy. And lo and behold, my propane tanks had run out. So my pilot light was trying to light kind of that whole time. So that's what, now that we go back and look at it, what caused the CO2 leak. Wow. And so that morning my head just started to bang and I was like, gosh, this doesn't feel quite like a hangover. I tried to drink water, hydrate. And then finally the headache, I could feel like it was all the way in my bones. Wow. And that's when I called my brother. He was staying in a vacation rental, and Jen, my ex-wife, and they took me to the ER. And for the first time I was on the other side of, usually on being like, and I had in my mind, maybe it's CO, or carbon monoxide because I could smell some of the campfires around me, but I was like, that's weird. But at that point, my mind wasn't making a whole lot of sense. And that was a life-threatening thing, especially being an ER doc, because I see a lot of death and dying, just at work, but to be on the other side of it was something that was quite powerful and kind of was the impetus to a lot of other changes, let it be with work, like working less, deciding to be like, oh, I just don't want to be a ER doc. Let me try my hand at owning a bike shop, and tried that. And then caught the pickleball bug and started playing a lot of pickleball. And, and that was great. I met a lot of my great friends and, even relationships through pickleball, met Jordan. But just as a sport, and even now I look at it, pickleball is like the perfect sport for promoting health and wellness when I look at even from the physician standpoint. Because even 10 years ago, I heard about pickleball working out in Peoria, and it was all the Sun City people falling. I was like, oh, it's for old people.
Oh, yeah.
Or people trying to go back for a lob, but so they shouldn't be, and they would break a wrist or they would fall and have a scalp laceration. So I'd hear about pickleball, but once they converted my local courts and I started playing, just like I'm sure a lot of people on here, I caught the bug and, I love it. And I could definitely see it being a part of my life, going forward. And we can talk about that when we get there about where do I see pickleball and what do I want to do with my health and wellness company and community. And all of that's super exciting to me. So
awesome, man. Yeah. Okay. So that was your first one. And how bad is, I don't know. I don't know too much about carbon monoxide. I know that it could be really bad, but what does that do to your body? Actually?
So basically, carbon monoxide takes the place on the blood cells of oxygen. So it bumps off oxygen. So basically, it deprives your body of oxygen, which is where I was getting the severe headaches, the severe bone pain. When I got to the ER, they do an EKG, and I told them, hey, check your carbon monoxide level. But it was to the point where I was almost blacking out. There were changes on my EKG where I had basically a mini heart attack where my heart didn't get enough blood.
Wow.
And luckily we got the treatment right away, which is high flow oxygen. ER doc wanted to intubate me. I talked him out of it, and they were able to do what we call high flow oxygen. And I corrected pretty quick. And I was actually out of the hospital the next day.
Oh, okay.
So crazy story. I always tell people, and especially when they're in the ER or when they complain about the cost too. Like I stayed there for less than, I think it was like 36 hours, and it was $120,000 before insurance. And
yeah, that's crazy.
I understand kind of the on the other side of it to be like, I don't even, insurance end up paying a majority of it, but it's still crazy when you think about cost of healthcare. But.
Okay, so that was right after you started pickleball. Right?
Right before I started. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why, so pickleball was like this outlet for me. Like I mentioned, I was going through a divorce, moving out of the family house, finding a new place. And pickleball became another outlet where I met great people. I was like, oh, maybe I'll be pretty good at this. And I remember, and that's why we called Jordan after me and my partner at the time, Jack. We're like, oh, let's start playing national qualifiers.
Yeah.
And we qualified at one of the first ones we went to, and that was
that 3-5 or 4?
It was 3-5. Yeah, okay. It was 3-5 in Pittsburgh. We flew all the way to Pittsburgh and we had signed up for the Boise one as well, and qualified the first tournament. And so
awesome, man.
Had that kind of instant success where we're like, oh yeah, who knows? Sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess personal, like your actually upbringing and stuff. One of the things that we relate with is we're both Filipino, so that's cool.
Yeah, Filipino power.
Yeah, but were you born here?
So my parents immigrated in 1978.
Okay.
Right after nursing school, and then they were placed in Kansas City. That's why I was born in Kansas City, and I was pretty much raised by by them, and of course my parents and all their classmates. And that's hence where Dr. Rose's kind of started to be like, well, of course you should be a doc. Both your parents are nurses. And
oh, okay. They were both nurses, huh?
Yeah. Yep. And then there was a 6-year med program in Kansas City. So
here's some,
went to there.
We're just going over some pictures.
Oh yeah.
Is that your daughter?
That's my daughter. That's Evelyn. So that's when
man.
I was severely, kind of burnt out before pickleball.
Wow.
Was 50 pounds heavier. Kind of knew that even though I had achieved kind of everything, kind of the checklist in life, like to be family, kids, house, career, my health was failing. I knew I needed to change, and started to go to a lot of instead of the typical continuing med ed conferences, started going to a lot of health and wellness conferences, and then made my own kind of personal change in my life. And this is version 2.0. No hair.
Wow. And how many years between that picture with your daughter and here?
About 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 to 3 years.
Wow. Yeah, you look
That's like 2019.
you lost a lot of weight and got fit, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. And what did you do to, or how did you get there? Did you
Gosh, it was a mixture of everything. Yeah, like I really dove into like when keto was super popular, and of course being a doc, I was like, well, let me try it. Or so I kind of took this mindset to the health and wellness conferences to be like, oh yeah, some of those are fad diets, or I get that, or a lot of it was cutting out sugar, processed foods, kind of the stuff we all know we're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
all the good stuff.
Yeah, all the things we love. But then being an ER doc too, I would stress eat quite a bit, especially working nights in the ER where we would get all the leftovers from all the hospitals, or we'd order junk at night.
Yeah.
Or I'd get off at 2 a.m. and the only thing open is Jack in the Box. So that's when the pounds really started to kind of add on, and stress of being a young dad too, trying to balance that out. And my ex-wife's a physician as well. So we were just trying to get along, and, at times, my personal health suffered, but I'm happy to say I've made that turn. And
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
What's that? Some bell peppers and avocado.
Look at that.
Those
I
are
know.
good choices,
That's
huh?
like perfect, right? Got some healthy fats.
That's cool. And then, so this is, and by the way, if you're just kind of listening to this, he kind of wrote some things here. We're kind of just going through it. But here's you and Jack at Nationals.
Yeah, that's where we qualified. That was that's in Pittsburgh. That was the national qualifier.
Dude, those medals are kind of cool.
Yeah, they're dope. Cool. I still have them. I'll keep them forever.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So you, so this is when you started playing a lot.
Yeah, that's when I was playing. Yeah, so kind of to go back to that, I kind of realized being a bike shop owner I took on too much on my plate. And
because you're saying you were doing the bike shop thing.
Bike shop,
and you were
working ER instead of 16 shifts a month. I would cut down to 8 or half, or about 2, 2 a week, and filling my time otherwise with the bike shop. Being a dad was a big one. I still have 50-50, I have a great co-parent, Jen, that a lot more time to be a dad, which I've loved. My kids now are 10 and 13. Back then we had a full-time nanny. So now, I'm able to, be a dad, and awesome. A lot happier.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Cool. So that's from Nationals. Was that your only Nationals, or did you play again?
No, that's it. Kind of after that, I actually met a girl at Nationals. She's a Tempe player, Briones, and we started dating after that. Kind of a pickleball romance story at Indian Wells.
There you go. So, I'm sure a lot of you out there may meet
pickleball love.
Yeah, pickleball love. Everything's happening. Everything's great when you're playing pickleball.
Right.
So and then so Gary, we talked about actually, did you text me the other day?
I did.
Okay, so
I did, because I was starting to get momentum for the health and wellness company, the Balanced Life, and starting to put together stuff for the Pickleball MD. Okay. And so I was like, I got to reach out to Jordan.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. So Gary, one of my very first clients, and I appreciate Gary. Someone had to be first. Actually, when I moved here,
Jordan's first. Look at that.
So when I moved here, I wasn't sure totally or at all how it was gonna go. Yeah. But I really appreciate you and Jack coming, and that was super awesome. Obviously, we've grown since then. Yeah. But from there, and then in the summer, last summer, you took a 2-day intensive.
Yes.
And I haven't, I keep, an eye on, and also players and who work with me, text me now and then, but I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah.
And then you told me that you went through some other stuff so super recently. So why don't you, why don't you kind of tell me about that? Like,
so I had health scare number 2. So during COVID, when I was working in the ER, of course I was exposed to COVID, and who knows, all types of other stuff, which I am all the time. But in that summer, I started to get headaches and fevers and chills, and I would take a COVID test and it's negative. And, and this is where it comes into more of the taking care of myself. I basically doctored myself. I was like, I don't know. I didn't want to go into the hospital at that point. It was just like, I don't have time. I'm busy. I was playing pickleball. I had a bike shop to run. I was trying to be a dad. And so kind of just ordered my own lab test. Everything looked good. I knew I needed to go to the ER to get a CAT scan, to get a lumbar puncture, which is a needle in the back to look for infection.
So you just weren't feeling good. Is that what
I was waking up fighting headaches, waking up drenched in sweat. And so I knew something, of course, being a doc, but eventually it almost came to the point where I was going to go to the ER, but just then I ordered my own lab test and added a cocci panel, which is a fungus, which is lives out here in the desert in the Southwest. And some people have heard of valley fever. So it's basically infection by cocci, which is the fungus, which lives in the dirt. Most people get respiratory issues.
Yeah.
Filipinos, African Americans, we don't fight cocci that well. So we're predisposed to, when it gets worse, it spreads, it disseminates and can go to your brain. So I had self-diagnosed with cocci back then in 2021, or I guess it's 2020, and started just taking antifungals, diflucan. I never saw an infectious disease specialist, never got a CT, and my symptoms got better. I was like, okay.
Oh, so this was, I didn't know this. So this was from 2 years ago. You kind of knew you had something.
Yeah. So I would just be like, but then like anybody else, be like, man, I don't want to be on this medicine forever. And so I would kind of titrate off, do better, and kind of take it, and that continued until this fall. I kind of was like, oh, I want to get super healthy. I want to get off the medicine, and got off of it in September. And unfortunately, come November, life overall was doing really well. Had lots of exciting things happening. And then we were actually celebrating my dad's 70th birthday in the Florida Keys, and I had a really bad headache. And I could tell it's the same headache from valley fever. So I had brought the diflucan, but they saw me. I actually had to pull over because of the headache. And I was like, okay, when I get back, I'll go get checked out. In the typical poor patient way, I still had an ER shift to work. So I worked that Wednesday. Yeah. And I already had a CT scheduled and already called my primary doc to get blood work. After that shift, the nurses kind of saw me slump over. They kind of checked my vital signs. Basically, I was able to make it home, called my ex-wife at the time, let her know what was going on, especially with kids' schedules. And then basically I collapsed kind of after my shift. My feet stopped working. I had severe headache. So this was December 7th of just last year, of 2023.
Yeah, so you're talking about a couple...
Two months ago.
Less than 2 months ago.
Yeah. Actually, I have, like I said, I have a follow-up appointment this afternoon with my neurosurgeon.
Wow.
So I got there, told the ER doc the story, and he got the CT scan, and there was basically signs of cocci meningitis. There was hydrocephalus, or fluid on my brain, which put increased pressure, which that's what was causing the headache, trouble walking, trouble even, staying awake at that point. So 24 hours after that, there in the ER, I met with the neurosurgeon, and they talked to me about putting a shunt in my brain, which basically helps take fluid off the brain. It tunnels, it goes into the ventricles, which is where the fluid is, and it tunnels from my head. Now down here, they had to put two little holes here to help pull the tube through. So now I have what's called a VP shunt, the ventricular peritoneal shunt.
So there's basically too much fluid in your brain?
Correct.
And then it takes some
because
out.
of the cocci infection, because of meningitis. And so now that fluid is off. It's amazing. I had the pain. The next day I had the pain from the surgery, or even the day of the surgery. Yeah. But my head felt completely different. Wow. I'm like, wow, this is totally different. And so and this is why I'm really passionate about, self-care and everything now, and finding balance in your life, like let it be work-life balance, or even to take care of yourself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, especially being a physician, I can't take care of my patients, can't take care of my family, can't take care of anything. So this was it's crazy to say it's been just 2 months ago.
Didn't you say that you were playing pickleball like shortly after the surgery or something like that?
So my neurosurgeon's going to kill me, because I was like, I got home, felt great. And I was like, wow, I had this new look on life, and I even got on you can show them. You can actually show them the staples. This is me in the ICU, but look at
there you go. So
I went to Choya that day. I don't know who was there if you're watching this, but I went there. I think it was the Monday or Tuesday.
Here's some scans
after surgery, Friday. And I remember I was like, well, I'm going to play pickleball. And I remember calling the nurse. They're like, oh, you should take it easy. And I'm like, well, I don't want to fall.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would probably be
But
not good, right?
I got to Choi. I played a couple of games, and then
the day after surgery.
I had my surgery Friday, so it was 3 days after.
Oh, okay. All
3
right.
days after.
So
But
not that
just
bad,
went
huh?
out. But I remember a couple people, I kind of told them, then I took off my hat and showed them. And one of the guys, and Casey, if you're watching this, he was like, I don't think you should be here. And so I felt a little uncomfortable. So I left and was like, okay, I'll just drill. So I called up one of my other buddies. So we just drilled.
So you just drilled.
We just
okay.
drilled,
Nice and safe.
less.
Nice and safe.
Safer.
drilling.
It's always about managing risk.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, safer. Yeah. Or even now, like with the one wheel, I was like, oh, I'm just going to make sure I wear a helmet.
Yeah.
And so I still do those things, but of course now with caution and to, manage risk.
So that kind of, because I don't know anything about that. What is it called? A stunt?
A shunt. So you can kind of see in the top picture and I know it's tough for people that are listening, but in the top picture, you can see the things that look like staples. Yeah, those are the staples that were in my head. And if Jordan kind of scrolls up, you can see the actual real life staples there.
Yeah.
So if you scroll down, you'll kind of see the two different tubes I'm talking about. The main one goes to the middle. So that's helping take fluid that had built up in my brain.
Oh, and then this is the one that goes down.
That goes down. And that goes all the way down into my stomach.
Wow.
Yep.
So a surgery like that, how dangerous is it? Or is it pretty?
Well, it's brain surgery. Anybody
Wow.
I remember being scared, I was terrified, because I had been otherwise pretty healthy. Like I've had, never been on really prescription meds, otherwise healthy, worked in the ER. And when somebody's telling you like, hey, we're going to take a drill it into the back of your skull, take that piece of bone out. We're going to take this piece of plastic about this big. We're going to navigate it between all the really important things in your brain, like how you know how to do everything, your personality, snake that through, get it to the right spot, not mess anything up, and then implant this device. If you scroll down, you'll actually see the device they implanted. So that's implanted in the back of my brain now that can be adjusted by magnets to help pull fluid off.
So that's in your brain?
So that's on the back of my head. I can feel it. Like you can actually, if you want to feel it, you can feel that little bubble.
Okay. Yeah, no, I see it. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So that's an actually reservoir. So if they need to pull fluid off, they can access that with a needle instead of having to do what they call a lumbar puncture, which is sticking a needle between the vertebrae. But then those small little things, they use a magnet to adjust the amount of fluid it pulls off.
Wow.
So if Coxy, unfortunately, even with the antifungal medicines, it doesn't completely eradicate it.
And Coxy, you said, is a fungus.
So it lives in the dirt. So that's where whenever anybody does construction here, they're supposed to wet down the dirt and not throw up the dirt all around. Because there's likelihood of Coxy in there is pretty high. So public service announcement, if you live out here or if you're fighting a chronic cough and you don't know why and you live out here in the desert, it may be Coxy. Make sure you ask your doc.
So you can just breathe that in, you're saying?
Breathe it in. Yeah.
And that's how most people get it?
And they usually have respiratory symptoms where they'll have like a chronic cough. It won't go away. Sometimes they'll feel weak. They feel like they have the flu. Sometimes they'll get night sweats. Luckily, I never had the chronic cough where it was like months to even years. But I definitely had the night sweats, fevers, headaches, and just felt like crap.
Yeah, and how often was that? Was that the night sweats and all that? Was that?
Until I started taking the diflucan, it was almost all the time.
So it was all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was summer of that 21. And I was still trying to play pickleball and prepare for tournaments because Nationals was in December.
Oh, my gosh.
Because I remember being like, I got to get this figured out. And of course, being a poor patient, like for sure, listen to your doctors, go see them. That's lesson I've learned now.
Yeah, so I guess
really prioritize my health.
Yeah, so like in that sense, right? Yeah, we're talking about health and wellness, taking care of yourself. Like what? I guess if anyone is in either a similar situation or maybe totally different, what are your suggestions just to make sure everyone is taking care of themselves? Just like
if they're having any symptoms, definitely talk to your doctor about what they may be, because of course even the symptoms I had, fatigue, headache, there could be a million different things. And so definitely take the time to take care of yourself is the biggest message I would have. And don't neglect it. I know some people are like, oh, I'm too busy, or I'm not, you want to be more proactive about your health versus reactive, which is where, unfortunately, and this is me coming from someone who works in our healthcare system. Yeah. We're not very good at promoting health. We're really good at what we call disease management. Like The U.S. system thrives when we prescribe meds, when we do stuff, when we put in new hips, when we put in new shoulders. That's how our healthcare system thrives. But really, and this is where I want to switch professionally, is how can we not just survive, but how can we thrive and do well and focus on our health and find things that we love to do. And that's where kind of I know pickleball comes in, because I know for me personally, I was like, wow, pickleball exercise gets in the way. I've met some of my greatest friends through pickleball. It gives me a skill set I can work on. You know, there's so many things that even when they look at how do you prevent dementia, it's like come up with a goal or skill or create community. And it's like, wow, you know, pickleball's checking like all these boxes. And so I know going forward, like pickleball is going to be something that, you know, it's not just teach or coach. I know it's something, with the balanced life and the health and wellness, it's going to be creating a wellness community that we can, hey, come together, and exercise part's probably going to be pickleball, but I want to create, you know, a community where we can support each other and be like, hey, where are you struggling, Jordan? Like, is it stress? Is it home? Is it your diet? Is it exercise? Kind of all those things all play a part. And just kind of bringing that all together and to keep it balanced.
So that's what you're working on now.
Yep.
You said
that's the new passion project. Yeah.
So I don't know, how do people find out about it? And I guess what does that look like? Is it a website or is it?
So it's basically all in the infantile stages now. I actually was trying to start this kind of online coaching back in 2020 as well. Like I had just gone through my own personal transformation. I got certified as a life coach, which as a medical doctor, it's like, well, I've already seen tens and thousands of patients, went to med school, but life coaching is a lot different than being a physician. Like as a physician, we're taught to prescribe care, or in the ER, like I do things for, you know, real sick people, where promoting health and wellness is different. It's
like before they get sick.
Yeah.
In a way, right?
And that's where I want to promote more health, you know, people to be healthy. That's my passion now. And that's where I see kind of the balanced life, you know, going. Right now it's going to start to be spread on social media, and I'm going to be creating, you know, more of an online community where it'll be part online Zoom calls, part in-person calls, part one-on-one. Yeah. And then some of it's going to be at the pickleball court as well, because that's going to be, you know, part of like the movement and part of what I know I'm going to be doing anyway is playing pickleball. It's like, well, might as well, you know, create a community around that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, so it's excited. You know, I'm excited. All the details, you know, I don't have completely fleshed out now, but I know that it's going to happen.
Okay, cool. How can they find that or information about that?
So I'm on Instagram. It's the Balanced Life MD and the Pickleball MD. Okay. Yeah. So both those, you'll start to see more info about it. And obviously getting on a pod with Jordan's following, you know, should help.
No, that's awesome, man.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah. So where are you with like tournaments and playing right now? Oh.
So that's what that's why I kind of reached back out too, because unfortunately my pickleball romance kind of ended the end of last year. So another kind of life navigation, but pickleball, like now I want to get back into, like, nationals is coming back to Mesa, and then I want to qualify. So where I actually put this out on my social media yesterday, I'm looking for a new mixed partner, a men's partner to qualify for nationals. And so I know those qualifiers are coming up. There's one in Vegas in April and one over at the old Legacy. So basically that's why I reached it back out to you. It's like, I want to, let it be the 5-day intensive, or at least get coaching again to be like, hey,
dude,
how can I achieve those goals? I know you're the guy.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll get you in there, man. Let's see. What else can you tell the viewers that you just learned on your journey? Maybe just like you know, a lot of people are in different places too, like different places and different. You know, I think the majority of people maybe listening to this are probably older, than 40, 50, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll have to check out the analytics.
The demographics.
Yeah.
I think one quick like public service thing, or just valley fever, like, because honestly I trained in Missouri, so I didn't know really anything about valley fever. And out here, if you ask your doc about it, if you're having a cough, it's not going away, it's definitely something it's around here, and it's, you know, it can happen. Gosh, with that question about, it's really appreciate everybody's journeys wherever they may be. Like in pickleball, now we're seeing an influx of the younger crew, which I love. That midlife thing where people are like, oh, am I really happy in life? Like really look inward on what lights you up, what your passions are. If it's not in alignment with a dead end job, look at that. If it's not in, in a relationship that you're not finding, passion or anything in, relook at those things. But really find things that light you up, and whatever that may be, it takes work though. I'm definitely one to say I've come a long way from, the burnout doc that was just putting in hours, not connecting with in my relationships or with my kids. And nowadays it's, I'm thankful for every day that I'm able to, sit on a pod, ride a one wheel, play pickleball, be a dad, go pick up my son. And, my son just had his first Valentine's dance, or not his first,
awesome.
But his first one. He's got a girlfriend. And so it's like really enjoying all those days, and I think that'd be the biggest message is find out what makes you smile, what makes you happy, and do more of that.
Awesome. What are some, so are you still, would you still say you're still on your way to 4-0 or where are you, Gary?
I don't know. Now that
you've taken some time off.
I played a lot of rec pickleball for a bit and didn't really focus on tournaments because I know when I had tournaments scheduled, I was a much better player because I was a lot more focused. And then after not signing up for tournaments, I'm like, I saw everybody else get better. Like I remember one of the first guys I played with was Brett Warner up at Choya and Horizon. I was like, whoa, those guys all passed me. And they played college tennis, so I had to give myself kind of that grace. But I would even say now, road to 4-0, hopefully more, but
dude, we're gonna
people are just getting better, and that's okay. Like I appreciate my own journey and, I play where I'm at and where I'm happy and, but that's the thing with pickleball. There's different levels, different people, and it's always fun just playing as long as the paddle's in your hand. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. Yeah. I mean, Gary, thanks again. If you're going to, I hope we'll talk after this. We'll get you in an intensive. If you guys, again, want to train and sign up and train with me, go check out the description below. And we'll put your Instagram and the way that people can reach you.
Perfect.
On the bottom, hopefully you got that squared away a little bit more. And so to those of you out there, balance is really important. That's, honestly, it's something that I'm currently working on. And also there's like different phases, like even in my life and business right now, it's like, it's pretty hectic.
Yeah.
Like we have 3 kids. Yeah. And then also we're trying to do everything we can to grow. Yep. And so, trying to find the balance in that is tough.
Yeah. And that's something that, we've all had our own struggles and let it be different stages in life. But if you got to find that inner balance, and there's different tools for that and ways to get there. But for sure. And then when you get to the court, stay in balance, you're able to hit all those shots as well. So definitely, that's why I'm a big fan of, balance on the court, off the court.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks again, Gary. Yep. And everyone watching, I appreciate you. Thank you. Continue to follow us. If you like this podcast, make sure you give it a like. Give us a review. Give us a review on wherever you see it. And we'll see you on the next one.
All right. See ya.